Happy Friday.
Yay! Happy Friday! And next week is Friday the 13th. Woo!
Yeah, it's going to be 11/11. It's going to be Friday the 13th. It's going to be
Yep.
all the things. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Hello, everyone. Ooh, if you're hopping on, let us know. We have Laura Michelle Powers from Healing Powers with Laura Powers podcast. If you have not tuned into Laura's show, you should. She shares all kinds of fabulous, wonderful things and talks about, and even does, you actually even do readings on your show sometimes, right?
I do,
so
yeah.
All the things, and you talk to a lot of different people about a lot of different things, but super exciting to have you here. I know we tried this once before. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed. The energy seems to have shifted. Things seem to be working more in our favor. I'm hoping technology does too.
Me too. We're no longer in Mercury retrograde. That's a lot of it. So
hallelujah. It's happening. Oh, seriously, like the last time we tried this, every single time we spoke, it shut off.
Yeah.
So
totally. Yeah, I'm definitely very impacted by Mercury retrograde, but this one in particular, this last one was like, oh my God.
It was like next level, because a lot of the times it just like kind of like I just like go dormant and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna roll with it. And this time it was like, oh my gosh, my emails weren't emailing. I was getting bounces. I was like, my computer kept shutting off. My phones shut off, and one day they shut off, and I couldn't get them to turn back on. It was
right.
It was just lunacy everywhere. Hello. If you are tuning in, I see you, but I don't see you. We are using Powered by StreamYard. You might notice that up in the corner. And this is a fun little thing where Facebook isn't letting us actually have people join in. So we're using this third-party app. And if you are talking, I don't know if I can see you. So please don't be upset. We will respond to you. If we don't respond to you live, we will respond to you through after the broadcast, okay? But oh my goodness, this energy this week, this everything has been like next level. I mean, I really don't think people have felt like this since at least 100 years.
Or maybe ever quite in this way. Yeah, it's a really crazy time, but also I think exciting because it's a time of rapid shifts. Like one of the reasons why it feels so intense and heavy is because there's so much shifting, releasing going on, but there's a really great side to this, which is that we can manifest like crazy. We can like shift so much faster than we typically do as a result of this. So it's definitely a double-edged sword, but there's some really good aspects to it as well.
Exactly. I love that you're saying that, because I have heard a lot of people are all ho-hum in all the spaces, and I think a big thing that people have been asking for change. They've been asking for shift. They've been doing all this work. They've been showing up in all these spaces. And when you put that kind of energy out there, you're going to eventually have that tidal wave. And we are going through that tidal wave, and change. It's not easy. Like the butterfly doesn't hop out of the cocoon a total butterfly. It like has to pump its wings, and it's like this decrepit little wet thing, and like and then it becomes a butterfly, but it has to like fight to get out there. So I think that we are past that energy. I don't know about you, but like yesterday morning, I know it seems like 300 years ago yesterday, but I woke up and I was like, the energy is totally different now. I don't know. The spaces are different. The energies are different. There's a lot of people talking about Palladian energy right now. I don't know what you're feeling in the space of that, but a lot of Lemurian and Palladian talk right now taking place as we move into this, what they're calling the new golden age, this time of the Aquarian age, which is like really exciting for so many people. And as you're saying, like, don't want what you don't want, right? Like, essentially, like, if we're in that space of manifestation, don't fall into the old pattern, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a time of letting go of things that aren't working and, Our vibration has shifted. If you know anything about the Schumann resonance, that's literally tracking the vibration of the earth, or at least that's what it's believed to track. And we've had these major spikes recently. And what happens when the vibration shifts, and this happens collectively as well as individually, is anything that's not in alignment with that new vibration shows up really hard. And I think that's what we're experiencing. It's like we want to be up here vibing high and like things are good and easy and flow, and any patterns, beliefs, behaviors, belongings, anything that is lower vibration, it's like, hello, I'm here. I need to shift and be released or whatever. And so it can feel extremely intense because it's, this releasing process is not always easy. But on the other hand, it's just such powerful information to realize, like, oh, like one of my things I've realized is, so I have a lot of past lives, like really heavily involved in politics, and not just past lives, like my master's degree is in political science. And when I had my psychic spiritual awakening, I recognized like, oh, this is not where I can be most impactful. And this is really not meant to be my path in this life. And so I consciously recognize that, but I've still very much like into politics, follow politics, get engrossed in kind of what's happening. And what showed up for me with this new like pop up of the energy was like, oh yeah, I really need to let go of this feeling invested in politics, that it's not serving me. Like it's not doing any good by me checking the news and seeing the election results every 10 minutes or whatever. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve the planet. So I just need to, so that's one of my realizations I had was like, oh, this is something that I need to release on an even deeper level. Like I'm not working in politics and government like I used to. So I've released it to a degree, but I still have felt emotionally invested and connected with it in a way that didn't help me. And so that was my realization. And I'm sure that lots of people have that realization as well as other things in personal relationships or beliefs patterns that are really showing up right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. I think it was really funny for my husband and I. We went to vote. We pulled in. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go at like 7:30 because it's gonna be done at 8. So we'll go at 7:30 because then the lines won't be that long. Because I don't know about where you are, but like the lines were like hour and a half, 3 hours. Like it was like back and forth. And people were saying, oh my gosh, I got there. I had to walk all this way. And we all voted in one place. It's usually split up into 4 different areas. And everyone went to the same place. And at first we were like, I can't believe this is happening, but it's totally happening. We pulled in the wrong side of the building. We drove around where we weren't supposed to be. And we got popped out in front of the building exactly where we were supposed to be. Because this is like, it's a school complex. There's like 8 buildings in this space. So like you can't see anything from where you're driving. And all of a sudden this police officer just goes, hey, what are you guys doing? We're like, hey, we're trying to go and vote. But our guess is that it's going to be like a super long wait. And he goes, oh yeah, no, the line's the shortest it's been all day. You should just park right here and go right in. And we were like, oh, okay. And then when we went in and came back out, we were 3rd in line. We got right in. It was less than 26 minutes. And from the car to the poll, vote, back to the car, like car to car. And we realized we had bypassed all the traffic, all of the like people standing with the signs and everything. And at first we were like, oh, it's such a headache. It's such an accident, right? And we were like, no, this is divine intervention. This was the most stress-free thing that happened to us. And we were like, this is really great. My husband's like, I manifested that because I wanted to prove you wrong. And I'm like, I don't care how you manifested it. Thank you. And I'm glad you proved me wrong. Because I was like, if it's going to be long, I want to go home and come back later. Because it was 4:30 in the afternoon, right? It's 4:30. Mm-hmm. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be really long. But again, it's that space of, don't want what you don't want. Like even I had gotten caught up in that space of like, oh, it's going to be this, because people kept telling me, oh, have you gone yet? This is what it's going to be like. And I just like fed into it. So I think that unplugging and like changing the habit once you recognize like, oh, is a really big deal for us right now. We're getting given these opportunities to choose again. So actively choose, right?
Yeah. And really take responsibility for your triggers. I think this is really, really important. So I did an interview on my podcast, Healing Powers podcast, with a cognitive behavioral therapist. And it was really insightful. And one of the things she said is a lot of times what triggers you was there before. It's not like we tend to think that person made me feel that way, but it's like, no, that is an internal reaction that's happening. And it may mean that there need to be some different boundaries with that particular person or situation. But at the same time, it's really important for us to own our response to something and understand that there's a trigger. We're perceiving that situation based on our ideas, beliefs, patterns, and also even maybe attracting that person based on our ideas, beliefs, and triggers. So one of the things I had to really come to terms with was I was, basically getting sent people that were going to hit that trigger, until I figured out that pattern and released it. So I think that's one of the reasons why your work is so powerful, is to help us, once we've identified those triggers, figure out how to release them. Because we all have that. Like, I know, like, respect. If people don't respect me, or I perceive that they're not respecting me, I just get like pissed off, It's like, okay, yeah, people should respect me, but is that really serving me to just like get really angry in the moment? Probably not. Like, probably not. Especially about something minor at the UPS store or whatever. So anyway, the more we understand that there is a trigger, or take responsibility for that, and then work on shifting it, the better it all gets for all of us. And there's a lot of major triggers happening right now.
So many. There are so many triggers happening every single day. What's one of the things that you're using to help yourself move through those triggers?
Yeah, so definitely your sessions have helped a lot. And I want to share this message because I feel like people need to hear it. So I believe that when you are working on something, like, go all in on working on that thing. And as you see, I will do several sessions a week with you sometimes, because I'm like, yep, let's get this shit out of there. I hope you don't mind that I just curse.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine.
That's how I feel about it. I'm like, let's just get this shit out of here. And when the pandemic started, I knew that I'm like, oh, there's some stuff that's going to come up. And I'm an empath. So not only am I dealing with my own stuff, but unless I have really strong boundaries, I end up taking on other people's fear, their struggles and everything. And I'm even working on trying to do that less through you and through other means. So I think that's been really key for me, doing these sessions. And a lot of these things are complex. They're multifaceted. So you look at finances or love or whatever, it's not going to be just one session to help you clear that. I mean, it's like layers of the onion, and there's these related issues. And so just keep working at it until you get the results that you want. And the other thing that's really helped me is the Healy. And I didn't bring it with me, but it's this little wearable device. It's amazing. I discovered you pretty much right at the beginning of the pandemic. And then also the Healy launched in the United States around that time. And both of those have been so key for me in terms of being able to shift, work on my vibration. And the Healy is a frequency device, basically just sends you frequencies for various things. It's FDA cleared for pain, but it has a lot of other applications. So, use your tools. And if you have a tool that works for you, keep using it. It's kind of like, I feel like, you kind of get it. Like, you don't expect to go to the gym and then have like rock star bod, like after 30 minutes. But a lot of people in manifesting and kind of energy work and shifting, they kind of have that unreasonable expectation of like, I'll hear people say it didn't work. I'm like, well, did you keep doing it? Or did you just try one day for like 30 minutes and then decided it wasn't working?
I always love that. Someone will be like, oh, I have like this one thing. And I'm like, we're going to talk about the one thing. And then we talk about it. I'm like, what happened when you were 3? What happened when you were 7? What happened when you were 16? And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I can't fix that in 5 minutes.
No, exactly. And a lot of these things, they can't. I mean, I feel like I've had incredibly profound shifts. Like, I had, like many people, a lot of really poor financial beliefs that I think I inherited from my family, that I think I inherited from society as a whole. As women, we often struggle with finances. And I knew going into this year, I was like, oh, we're going to need to do some work on this. And when it started, just like everyone else, there were a lot of fears. My company is, I don't have a regular paycheck. It's all just, through people signing up and purchasing things. And so there's no regularity. And I had some money in the bank, so it's not like I was afraid to starve or anything like that. But, there's those financial fears that come up in terms of, am I going to be able to continue in my lifestyle that I like and everything. And because I worked at it really hard, I believe that that's the main reason that I've had actually the best year that I've ever had. And I'm hearing that from a lot of people in this space. Like, this is actually can be a really good year, but you have to do the work or have done the work. It's not going to just show up automatically for you.
Yeah. And that's really important, is to stick with it. And you saw yourself going in that space of like,
oh yeah,
this could be real scary. And then you were like, no, wait, I'm pivoting. I'm asking for help. I'm doing something different. I'm going to choose something that's in alignment with me. And I think that's the other thing, is like, what is it that you want? Like, a lot of people I'm listening to a lot of people and they're like, well, I just want to, like, I don't even know. And I'm like, okay, we need to get some clarity here.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep doing the same thing? Do you want to change and move in a different direction? Do you like the life that you've been living? If yes, then fantastic. Let's keep moving in that direction. But a lot of people are like, no, I know I have more to give. I know I have a bigger reason to show up. I have all these things I want to be doing. And it's like, okay, well, this is the perfect time to do them. Like, the world just gave you a reset button.
Right.
Like, if you hate your job, if you hate where you live, if you want something different, right now is the time to do that. And for you, like, you travel a lot, so you see a lot of people around the world in a lot of different areas. And so when you look at that energetically, how do you see that playing out right now?
Well, I feel like this is a big time of shifting. I think this is a major reset for a lot of people. And how intense you're experiencing this has to do with, one, just what we talked about, like, are you working on your stuff? And also, how much stuff is there to work on? So in my case, I think because I've been doing this kind of soul work and kind of deeper work for a while now, there were definitely challenges, but it didn't hit me as hard as some people. And for me, my major reset was during the recession. And for a lot of people, I think it's right now. So that's what I see is a lot of people doing some major learning, fast shifting. And you know what? When that happens, a lot of times it feels really hard. So it can feel traumatic. It can feel just like what you talked about, the butterfly. It's not like I was the caterpillar and all of a sudden I'm this amazing butterfly. Like, it's like work. They have to create the chrysalis. They're in the chrysalis. Their whole body breaks down and becomes goo, and then it gets rebuilt. And then even when they're coming out of the chrysalis, they're like, oh my God, this is so hard. I have to break out and my wings are wet and I have to stretch out my wings. And, it's a process. And so I think unfortunately, a lot of people expect transformation to just come easily. And also, if you have a good life, that it just came to you easily. Like, or I'll get this, like, people just think that I'm naturally very thin. And I'm like, I'm actually genetically predisposed to be obese. And I was borderline overweight obese for a while, but I'm just very careful with how I eat and how I treat my body. So, don't project this idea of how things are onto others. Like, and to me, it's worth it. Like, I prefer to be healthy and feel fit and, not feel like I'm struggling. Like when I was in that place in terms of my weight. And everyone's different, by the way. Not everyone's going to feel this way, but I didn't feel good, So I've made those choices, and you always can make those choices for yourself about whatever it is that you are going to choose. And you choose every day. It's not like I choose and then I'm done. It's a constant choice. Like, we have free will and we make those choices. So I feel like that's what's happening is like you said, what am I going to choose today? Everyone is going through that. And some people are going to choose, things that don't feel good right now, and they may not shift, but when they're ready to, they will. And that's a big thing for all of us who are healers and helpers to remember, that everyone will shift when it's the right time for them. And it's not to have judgment, but also that we should choose for ourselves what we want.
Mm-hmm. And I think that in the space of that, like, it comes right back to that, what you said a little bit ago about boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Boundaries are hard. We all know they're hard. but they're necessary. And boundaries don't make you a bad person. If someone's making you feel bad because you're putting boundaries in place, rethink that relationship, right? Like,
oh, absolutely.
A lot of the times they're angry because now you're not going to do what they want you to.
Oh, yeah. I know when I was starting to have healthier boundaries, there are a lot of people that got almost like angry, or in some cases actually angry me, because it was like, yeah, I wasn't giving them that energy or that attention or whatever. And I just shifted, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I had issues with pricing, like people that were like, you charge too much. I'm like, well, then just don't hire me. Like, I don't, that's right. You should be angry. You choose or you don't choose. I'm not forcing you to pay my rates. It's just, if you want to work with me, that is my new boundary. That is my new level that I've established. And yeah, if people are making you feel badly for your choices, then that's probably a sign to take a step back. And again, people are judging and perceiving people based on their beliefs and patterns. And if suddenly you shift yours and you no longer believe what they do, they may perceive you to be a bad person or a selfish person, or whatever label they use. But that's just their perception. And I really feel that we absorb energy from people, whether we try to or not, and beliefs and patterns. And I've seen this happen in so many different ways. And so really to be conscious of looking at your circle, the people that you're connecting with, including what you're consuming in terms of media. Is that where I want to be? Do you want to be like that? Do I want to be in that space or not? And I really feel in most cases, you're either receiving or something's being taken away. There's very little that's actually neutral. And so just to be really cognizant of that and pay attention and ask, am I being nurtured? Am I being fed? Is this feeling good for me when I'm engaging with this media, with this person, with this situation, with this object? It goes with things too.
Absolutely. Everything has a frequency. Everything has a frequency. And if you're in your house and you're like, change the frequency. And you can do that by ringing bells. You can do that by lighting incense. You can do that by clapping your hands.
Cleaning, cluttering, varying levels of these things, but absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the same thing with colors have frequencies. Everything has a vibration. It's millions of molecules vibrating so quickly that it's one thing, right? We all saw that science show, or maybe I don't know.
By the way, I noticed we're both wearing black, or at least it looks like it's black.
Oh yeah, I'm always in black.
It's funny. I used to always be in black, and now I have a lot more color. But just to recognize that black is very grounding. Well, with the politics and everything, it's a pretty crazy time. So now I'm like, yep, I could use a little.
I could use a little black.
I could use a little grounding.
I just totally manned my wardrobe, and I'm like, I don't have to think. I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Well, black is very easy for that,
and it's slimming.
Yeah, I would love to share a story about how our beliefs and patterns, I think, are so absorbable, for lack of a better word. I'm an empath, so I do feel more strongly than others, but I think this is happening with everyone, and they just don't have maybe the awareness of it, or maybe not to the degree. So we absorb beliefs from other people, or we can. And this is so powerful, beliefs and patterns. So I was in Washington, D.C. for a class I was teaching, and then I had several clients. And I'm a person where, if I'm in a relationship and it's great, awesome. I'm so happy to be in an awesome, fun relationship, but I'm also happy to be single, right? I don't mind. I like my life and have a lot of awesome friends. And so at that time, I was single. I'm not now, but I was then. And I was at this hotel, and I was so puzzled because I was in this mindset of any man that I saw, I was like, maybe he would be with me. Literally that would pop in. And I was like, what is going on? This is not my normal MO. And I saw this man that night at the hotel lobby and bar. And he was in his 60s, overweight, not particularly charming or anything. And I was like that. I was like, maybe he'd be with me. These thoughts came in, and I was like, what the heck? This is not normal for me. And I couldn't figure it out, what is going on? And then the next day I had a client, and she was a bit older than me, and
Oh, constantly, right? We're being programmed from 0 to 7 by our family. And then outside of that, it's social. And right now it's through social media and the television. Yeah. So like you said, setting that space of, what am I watching? What am I taking in? What am I seeing? Also, how many groups are you in where people are just like, would you hang out with them in public? Just because you're hanging out with them online, would you sit down in public with these people and be like, these are my friends?
Yeah.
Because that's an energetic exchange. Social media is an energetic exchange. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Getting clear in that space.
Yeah. And that regardless of whatever is happening with the collective or society, that doesn't have to be what's happening with you. So I really make a point of surrounding myself with people that are inspiring and uplifting and successful, and then learning from them and emulating them. And by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't have compassion. Have compassion for, yes, there's some really intense things that are happening right now, but that doesn't mean that you have to be in it too. And it's not like we get like an award for struggle, like, yeah, you struggled the most, here's your here's your gold star or something. I think a lot of times people think it's almost like we're programmed for that, like, the sort of martyr pattern, that we do get some kind of soul reward or something. But actually, I don't feel that that's the case as a psychic. I feel that, the more people suffer, the more people suffer, and it's not helping us. So if you can be that light and support and help rise people up, that's amazing. And also be aware of what is a drain on you. Just like you said, are these individuals that are really adding to my life? Is this serving me? And if it's not serving you, it's actually probably not serving them either, for anyone who feels like that might be selfish. Because if people are in that pattern, they need to learn the results of that pattern as well. And if you're just continuing to like boost them up and allow them to continue that unhealthy behavior, then that will continue for them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have no reason to grow and evolve beyond that space, because they're getting the positive reinforcement that they seek. And it doesn't mean not to have compassion, be like, oh, I see you for where you're at, and that's like, I'm sorry, but also don't make it your baggage, right?
Right. Like, absolutely.
A lot of times people are like, I'm doing all this work, I'm doing all this personal development, I'm doing mediumship, I'm an empath, I'm doing all this stuff. Let me carry your baggage too. Here, just jump on my back. I'll carry you around. It's fine. I'll just take it.
Right.
That's the last thing that any of us need, right? The last thing that any of us that are, because you're showing up in this space because you want to improve humanity, you want to lift humanity, you want to change the cycles and habits of your family and your lineage and your legacy, right? We're doing this so that our legacies, which is everyone who comes after us, has something better than what we had. And when we're like, it's okay, I'm going to drive the train, hop on in, I'll pull you around, that doesn't benefit anybody.
Absolutely.
How are you seeing that unfold in the space of, I've heard a lot of people feeling guilty about having an easy time right now. A lot of people are, why am I having an easy time and other people are not? Or, oh, I don't want to talk about my wins or my successes in this time because it will hurt somebody else's feelings, or somebody else isn't having that. How are you receiving or experiencing that on your end?
I mean, I think it's a very real thing. And if you are experiencing that, don't beat yourself up over it. I think this is a very common thing in the sense of that's the programming that we get. And it has to do with this idea that it's a zero-sum game. If I have, you don't have, and etc. And it's just not true. Like it's frankly just not true. And in fact, it tends to go the opposite. The more that is there, the more that there is there for all of us. I was doing a channeling with Nikola Tesla, and I just felt like it was such a powerful message. So Nikola Tesla, the inventor of the Tesla coil, not Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, the company, but the historical figure Tesla. Yeah.
The legit Tesla.
yeah. And he's amazing. And it was very ahead of his time, I think. And he gave me a message I just love so much. He said, most people are trying to get their piece of the pie, so here's the pie and what's my little piece. And I'm going to try to get that. And he said, when really there are an infinite number of pies. And I love that. And I feel that it's so true. So when you're feeling guilt for having, or other people are guilting you for having, that's because they're in that mindset and belief of there's not enough. And we, if you have, I don't, and vice versa. And it's just frankly not true. And in fact, the fact that I have had a good year financially means that I've been able to continue to use my freelancers and my team. And, a couple of my freelancers, they reached out to me and they said, Laura, I'm so grateful. My other jobs are gone, so I'm so grateful to still have this. And I feel good. Like I'm helping. And these are people that are parents and support their families and whatever as well. So, that we should feel good when people are being successful, because then that means that they can help everyone else too, so this is the way I think we need to approach it. And if you are experiencing the guilt, first of all, do sessions with Rebecca, ask the angels to help you clear, do the healing, do whatever it is, help you to shift out of that. And then also look at that circle of people that are doing that and ask, like, is this serving me? Is this feeding me? Is this somebody that I want to engage with? I had a situation where, this based on social media. So I typically have a housekeeper and I feel so blessed to be able to afford her. And I'm grateful for the help. I hate house cleaning, but I want to clean house. So it's, it's like awesome. But like everyone else, when the pandemic hit and the lockdown order came, like couldn't have her here. Like I had to do everything myself. Well, I don't, we have like a broken vacuum where the like handle doesn't even stick up. And so I'm like, well, I'm not paying for a housekeeper. I should at least have a good vacuum. So I bought a vacuum and I posted on Facebook, and I basically said that same thing. Like normally I feel very blessed. I'm able to have a housekeeper. I can't now. So, but I'm really excited about my new vacuum. And I love this vacuum. I basically was telling people like, this is an awesome vacuum. And it's a Dyson upright cordless. So it just makes it really easy to vacuum. And I had one old Facebook friend who's not someone I really engage with, for the last several years, we haven't connected, but he said, you're so selfish and, how dare you? And like, basically was acting like I was bragging and like, because I bought a vacuum, I was and I'm like, look, first of all, delete and unfriend immediately.
You're not in my circle. But we know friends no more.
Yeah. But how ridiculous that is. Like, if I buy this, I bought it at Costco, the people at Costco are benefited. The people at Dyson are benefited. Like this is keeping the economy supported. If I'm not spending money on my housekeeper, I'm spending it in another way. Like that's a good thing for all of us, really. And I just thought, gosh, this person is clearly in a lot of lack mentality. And that's really what this is. And when people are that way, again, I bless them. I'm asking like angels, please help them, see things more clearly. Yes. But at the same time, like, no, I don't want that in my life. And you shouldn't feel guilt about unfriending, blocking people from your feed, whatever that is for you, spending less time or no time with people that are doing things like that.
My favorite vacuum ever. I use that vacuum every single day.
Oh my God. Everyone should know, like, because I still don't like or love vacuuming, but when I don't have to have it cord and it's light, it's more like, oh, I'm just doing this little vacuum. And it's like not this like, oh my God, I have to vacuum.
Right, exactly. It's the best thing in the world. Like totally. It was the smartest investment ever, right? And that's the thing is like keeping the economy moving, keeping the economy going means people have to spend money, and you're going to spend that money either way. And you're a business owner. you already had that money allocated for a housekeeper. So for you to transition that money and buy a vacuum, it was already there. But also recognizing like if we are going to have this heal, that story needs to heal. And so we need to be making these purchases during difficult times. This is where your money struggle comes up and where it really is based out of. And I'm seeing that a lot of it is, yes, it's family programming, but it's also historical.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of, I was shown that a lot of people that are alive right now have been in past lives in other plagues, the Black Plague and other, and so it's like all these fears and things are coming up. And even if it's not going to be the same outcome, it's still those triggers are really being hit. So absolutely. Yeah. And we're in a time where we're shifting, I think, out of this sort of male structured, hierarchical, limited perspective to one of intuition, expansion, femininity, cooperation. And it's like all those old energies are in their last throes on their way out, and they're fighting. They want to stay. Yeah, exactly. Because I could feel a little ugly when that's happening.
Absolutely. That patriarchal aspect and that energy is always like grasping, right? It's like, let me stay. But also recognizing that it's like, it's not time for that anymore. It's time to shift all of that now.
Absolutely.
In that space, I know that you had a couple different things that obviously, you guys, if you haven't checked out Laura Powers Healing Powers podcast, you can listen to that on Apple iTunes. You guys, I'm clearly technology illiterate. And she's pretty much on every single pod place you can get her.
Yeah, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever.
Exactly. So wherever you're listening to a podcast, just plug in and search for her. You'll find her in that space. And listen to the conversations that she's having right now, especially are all about, one, what's going on, two, how you can support yourself. And she's seeing the things that are what's next, right? A lot of the things that you've been talking about in the last 2 weeks have been what's next. How do we move forward? How do we balance this out? How do we come out of this? Not necessarily unscathed, because no one's going to come out of this unscathed, but the better version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves, the more empowered version of ourselves, the more connected version of ourselves, right? Because that's this goal, is to come back to you, right?
Absolutely. And, if something is damaged or we perceive it to be damaged, a lot of times it's just because it's actually in our best interest. So during their session for me, I perceived that my whole life fell apart, but it was really so that I could get much, much better. So just keep that in mind, that if it seems like things are really tough and bad right now, it's probably because there's something that's way better coming than maybe you could even imagine.
Mm-hmm. So often that's the truth. So often. Look at the rest of your life and think, when was another time where you were really down, or you were really out, or you really were like, you had a relationship come to an end and you were like, oh, my heart's broken, all the things are bad, I'm never going to be with anybody ever again, meta evil, right? And then you were like, met the love of your life, you married somebody, or you had like a really amazing job come up that made you move somewhere else, that allowed, and like, because you weren't in a relationship, you're like, boom, done, doing it. Like, think of those times and think of how you came out of that, and go into that space, go into that frequency, embrace that frequency of change, because that's what's going to help you move through this space with the least amount of fear and anxiety, right?
Absolutely. And I do have to get going here for my my next interview, but I just really want to encourage everyone to do the work. It'll help you with the shifting so much more easily, and then just know you can have, even in what we consider to be a challenging time, there are people that are doing very well, and you can be one of those people, and you don't have to struggle. It doesn't have to be hard long term. And the better each of us is, the better we all are in terms of the collective. So just remember that. Surround yourself with people that support you, that believe the same, and your life just has to get better when you do that.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here, Laura. We love having you. We love sharing this message that is so divinely received with us. And you guys, again, if you haven't checked her out, go over and wherever you're listening to your podcast from, check out Healing Powers with Laura Powers. And she has a blog. You can go to her website through her podcast. You can access her website and check out her blog. And she does all kinds of fabulous things to help you get the answers that you need, right? You can access information if you've got some questions. She can help you.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. Healingpowers.net is the website. I'm on Instagram at LauraPowers44. You can DM me there. Facebook, Healing Powers. And yeah, I teach psychic development classes, group classes, one-on-ones. I do readings. And then I have lots of books, 8 books, and lots of courses, and whatever you want. Meditation. I'm on Insight Timer for meditation. Yeah, connect, reach out. It's always great to
all the spaces. Thank you so much for being here, Laura, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you're just checking in, ask any questions that you have. We will come back and answer them. Say hello, and we will say hello back. Yay! All right, have a wonderful weekend, everybody.